35 fucking years. That's all it took to go from cave grunts to space explorers. Christian Crawford's words echoed in the Grand Hall, stunning the ancient Sele Council into silence. The human scientist stood alone, heart-pounding, as he faced the 7 old geezers. He'd just arrived on their dusty planet for diplomacy, but the Sele had already made up their minds. Fornax, Christian's grey-scaled guide, had let it slip on their walk over. The Sele took 50 millennia to escape their gravity well. They saw humanity's 200-year ascent as a threat, an insult. Christian could see it in the Council's beady eyes. They didn't want peace. They wanted humans under their clawed thumbs before it was too late, before mankind's next impossibly fast leap made the Sele irrelevant. So much for first contact. Christian's fingers curled into fists at his sides. If these fossil reptiles thought they could bully humanity, they had another thing coming. He would drag them, kicking and screaming, into a new era of cooperation. Or he'd die trying, because if Christian failed today, if he showed 1 ounce of weakness, the Sele would put humanity in cages by sundown. The 7 Sele elders glared at Christian with withering stares. Christian could feel their cold reptilian eyes boring into him, as if trying to penetrate his skull. He needed to exit this chamber before their alien mind powers melted his brain or something. Fornax gestured for Christian to follow him out a side door. As they walked through arched hallways, Christian drank in the alien architecture. Twisted spires stretched toward the crimson sky. Sleek solar panels adorned every angled rooftop. Hovering vehicles zipped through the air, weaving between buildings. It was a perfect fusion of nature and machine. "Incredible, isn't it?" Fornax remarked, noticing Christian craning his neck. "Sele Prime has looked much the same for over 10,000 years. 10,000? Christian repeated in awe. "Human civilization only goes back a few millennia. We were still banging rocks together while your people mastered clean energy." "The Sele are a long-lived species," Fornax explained. "Our average lifespan exceeds 500 of your Earth years. Change happens slowly when each generation lasts centuries." Christian nearly tripped over his own feet. 500 years, fuck me. No wonder you built all this. I'd cure cancer too if I had that long. Most humans are lucky to hit 80. Fornax paused mid-step, blinking rapidly. 80? 80? But that's... Forgive me, but how is that possible? How could your kind advance so rapidly in such a short time? Christian shrugged. "Guess that's just how we—" A wailing siren drowned out his words. Fornax whipped his head around, eyes wide. "What's going on?" Christian shouted over the noise. "Nothing good," Fornax said grimly. "There is a faction, the Preservers, who believe your species cannot be trusted. They make threats. Perhaps now they take action." Christian set his jaw. "I'm not about to let some dino-Nazis fuck up my mission. I'll help you get to the bottom of this." Fornax flicked his forked tongue nervously. "I don't know, this doesn't concern you." "If it concerns humans, it concerns me," Christian said firmly. "You saw how I handled those crusty pricks back there. Let me talk to these Preservers, figure out what they want before this turns into a shit show." Fornax considered for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well, your perspective may be useful, but we must hurry. The Preservers are not known for empty threats." Fornax tapped his claws on his communicator as they hurried toward the edge of the city. "The research facility is not far. We will take my personal shuttle." The sleek silver craft was waiting for them at a landing pad. Christian climbed in beside Fornax, strapping into the strange seat. Fornax's claws flew over the controls, and they lifted off, zooming over the alien metropolis. "So what exactly does this facility research?" Christian asked, watching the city blur beneath them. "Advanced weaponry," Fornax replied, "which is why this attack is so concerning." They touched down minutes later at a squat, heavily reinforced structure. Black scorch marks marred its metal walls. Dozens of Sele security personnel swarmed over the area. Christian and Fornax approached the blown-out entrance. The human's eyes widened as he saw the extent of the damage up close. These weren't the plasma scars he was used to seeing. "I've never seen a Sele weapon do this," Christian murmured, running his hand over the warped edges of the hole. It almost looks like human technology, Fornax finished grimly. You're right, we must speak with Zortak immediately. The scientist's laboratory was a chaotic mess of Sele and human equipment. Zortak himself, a slender Sele with cybernetic enhancements, greeted them eagerly. The human diplomat, Zortak exclaimed. I was hoping to meet you. Good to meet you too, Doc, Christian said. Though I wish it were under better circumstances, we think the Preserver's weapons incorporate human tech. Yes, I've just been examining the readings, Zortak said, waving a datapad. It's fascinating, really. They've managed to merge our tech almost seamlessly. How could they have gotten access to our weapons? Christian demanded. I believe they may have operatives on both Sele Prime and Earth, Zortak mused. Troubling, I know. You're telling me, Christian muttered. Any way to track these hybrid guns? Zortak's eyes gleamed. Actually, yes, I've been developing a scanner attuned to their unique energy signature, but I could use your help calibrating it for human frequencies. Whatever you need, Christian said. Let's get to work. Hours blurred by as the human and Sele pored over the device. Christian found himself growing oddly fond of the eccentric scientist. You know, most Sele won't even look at human tech, Zortak confided as they worked. They think it's beneath them, but not me. I think your species has so much to teach us. Sounds like you're in the same boat as me, Christian chuckled. My people thought I was nuts for trying to make nice with the Sele. Perhaps we are both ahead of our time, Zortak mused. Visionaries in a galaxy that fears change. Christian grinned. Guess that makes us visionary buddies then. Zortak returned the smile, but before he could reply, a thunderous boom shook the lab. Alarms blared as smoke poured in from the hall. What the hell? Christian yelled, grabbing for the finished scanner. A dozen armed Sele charged into the room, scales glinting under flickering lights. They leveled strange rifles at the trio. Step away from the human, one barked at Zortak and Fornax. This is now a preserver matter. The leader swung his gun toward Christian. You, Terran, drop your weapon and surrender, or watch your Sele friends die. Christian gritted his teeth, fingers tightening around the tracker in his hand. Kavla's eyes narrowed to slits. I won't ask again, human, the data now. Go fuck yourself, Christian spat. Kavla snarled and aimed his rifle at Fornax's head. Have it your way, Christian moved. He lunged forward, slamming into the preserver, holding Zortak. The Sele stumbled back with a hiss of surprise. Christian didn't hesitate. He drove his elbow into the alien's throat, then wrenched the weapon from his claws. Fornax's eyes flashed white. The preserver pinning his arms flew back, crashing into a bank of computers. Sparks erupted from the destroyed machines. Zortak thrust out his hand. Kavlar's gun ripped free of his grip, clattering to the floor. Christian dove for it, rolling and coming up in a crouch. He fired, catching a preserver in the chest. The alien crumpled. Christian whirled, squeezing off shots. Preservers fell left and right, no match for human reflexes. Fornax and Zortak fought beside him, hurling enemies into walls with their minds. In seconds, only Kavlar still stood. The preserver leader roared in fury and charged at Christian, claws extended. Christian sidestepped and slammed the butt of his rifle into Kavlar's head. The Sele dropped like a stone. Christian stood panting, adrenaline surging through his veins. Everyone okay? Fornax nodded, scales rippling. Thanks to you, that was impressive. Indeed, Zortak agreed. Where did you learn to fight like that? Christian shrugged. Humanity 101, we're scrappy little bastards. He glanced at the tracker still clutched in his hand and froze. Guys, we've got a problem. Fornax peered over his shoulder at the screen. His eyes widened. That's not possible. How could they have a base there without us knowing? Doesn't matter, Christian said grimly. We know now and we're going to take them down. Zortak frowned. The three of us against an entire preserver stronghold will need help. Christian's mouth quirked. Then I guess it's time I had another chat with our scaly friends on the council. The Sele elders gaped at the footage from Zortak's lab. Christian stood before them, still splattered with blood, tracker in hand. "As you can see," he said, "the Preservers aren't just a bunch of crackpot extremists. They're organized, they're armed, and they're planning something big." "This is deeply troubling," one elder said. "But what would you have us do? We cannot risk open war." Christian leaned forward. "Then don't. Let us handle it quietly. Give me a small team and we'll infiltrate their base and shut them down from the inside." The elders conferred in hushed whispers. Finally, the leader turned to Christian. "Very well, you may have your team, but if you fail—" "We won't," Christian said firmly. He looked to Fornax and Zortak. "Right, guys?" Fornax inclined his head. "We're with you." Zortak grinned. "Visionary buddies, remember?" Christian returned the smile. Strange how much could change in a day. This morning he'd been ready to strong-arm the Sele into submission. Now he was putting his life in their hands. Funny old universe. As he prepped his gear for the mission, Christian's mind drifted to Earth, to the family and friends he'd left behind. They'd thought he was insane, volunteering for this. Maybe they were right. But looking at Fornax and Zortak, seeing the trust in their eyes, Christian knew he was exactly where he was meant to be. He'd come to Sele Prime to fight for humanity's place among the stars. He'd ended up fighting for something far greater. The shuttle's engines whined as Christian guided it through the jagged mountain peaks. Fornax and Zortak sat beside him, faces grim. Behind them, a dozen Sele commandos checked their weapons. Christian's knuckles were white on the controls. This was it. The Preserver base was just ahead, nestled in a hidden valley. Intel said it was heavily fortified. Failure wasn't an option. 2 minutes, Christian called back. Get ready. The ship shuddered as anti-aircraft fire peppered its shields. Christian swore and swerved, narrowly avoiding a missile. The belly of the craft scraped stone as he brought it down hard on the valley floor. "Go, go, go," Christian shouted, slamming the hatch release. Laser fire sizzled past as they charged out, taking cover behind boulders. Christian returned fire, dropping a Preserver guard. "Push forward," he yelled over the din of battle. Inch by hard-fought inch, they advanced on the base's blast doors. Alarms wailed as they breached the outer defenses. Christian sprinted down stark metal corridors, Fornax and Zortak at his heels. He gunned down Preservers left and right, barely slowing. "There!" Zortak pointed at a heavily reinforced door. "In the main lab!" Christian slapped a breaching charge on the lock and detonated it. The door crumpled inward with a bang. They stormed through, weapons ready. Inside was a scene from a nightmare. Strange machines pulsed with malevolent energy. Containment tanks held twisted hybrids of Sele and human DNA, and at the center of it all stood Kevlar. "Welcome," the Preserver leader hissed. "You're just in time to witness the birth of a new era." "It's over, Kevlar," Christian snarled. "Surrender now." Kevlar laughed. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about conquest, it's about evolution." He gestured at the grotesque experiments. "Humanity is the key. Your adaptability, your relentless drive, combined with our knowledge, our technology, we will be unstoppable." "And what gives you the right to play God?" Christian demanded. "Humanity will forge its own path." "You'll drive yourselves to extinction," Kevlar roared. "Only we can save you from yourselves." He lunged for a control panel. Christian tackled him, grappling for control. Fornax and Zortak battled Kevlar's guards, the lab erupting into chaos. Christian slammed Kevlar into a console, sparks flying. Kevlar kicked him back, claws tearing into Christian's flesh. "Oh, fool," Kevlar panted. "I was going to uplift humanity, make you gods." "We don't need your twisted vision," Christian growled. He smashed his fist into Kevlar's jaw, feeling bone crunch. "We'll make our own future." Kevlar staggered back, blood dripping from his maw. His hand closed around a lever. "Then you can all burn with us." Dread flooded Christian's veins. A dead man's switch, linked to some doomsday weapon, no doubt. He locked eyes with Fornax across the room. An unspoken understanding passed between them. Christian launched himself at Kavla. The preserver jerked the lever down. A blinding flash, searing heat. Christian felt himself flying, flung by the edge of a cataclysmic blast. His body slammed into a wall, pain exploding through every nerve. Darkness took him. Christian swam back to consciousness, every breath agony. Fornax knelt over him, Zortak at his side. Smoke choked the air. "The device," Christian wheezed. "Destroyed," Fornax said. "Along with the base, Kavlar too." Zortak laid a gentle hand on Christian's shoulder. "You did it. You stopped them." Christian coughed, tasting blood. "We did it, all of us." He reached up, clasping Fornax's clawed hand with his own. "Promise me," he rasped. "Promise you'll keep fighting. For peace, for a future where our people stand together." "I swear it," Fornax vowed, voice thick. "Your sacrifice will not be in vain." Christian managed to smile. "Not bad for a scrappy little bastard, huh?" Zortak squeezed his hand. "You're a hero, Christian, to humans and Sele alike." Christian let his eyes drift closed. "Funny old universe," he murmured. "Didn't think I'd go out surrounded by scaly friends." He could feel his heartbeat slowing, his breath shallowing. There were worse ways to die, he supposed. At least he'd made a difference. At least he mattered. "You made me proud to be human, Christian Crawford," Fornax whispered. A lone tear traced down Christian's cheek as he breathed his last. The Sele stood vigil over Christian's body for a long time, two aliens mourning a man who had changed their world. When they finally emerged from the smoking ruin of the base, they carried Christian between them, not as a conquered enemy, but as a fallen brother. Word of the battle spread quickly. When the weary soldiers reached the capital, they found a sea of humans and Sele waiting, united in grief, united in purpose. The council met them at the steps of the Grand Hall, solemn, humbled. They took Christian from Fornax and Zortak with reverent hands. "The preservers?" one elder asked. "Gone," Fornax said, "but at a great cost." The eldest nodded slowly. "Then let this be the last blood spilled between our kinds. Let the humans' noble sacrifice mark a new beginning." They bore Christian into the hall, Fornax and Zortak walking behind as honor guard. The eyes of two races followed them, witnessing the end of an era and the dawn of a new age. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.